أعزائي مشاهدي اليوم السادس أهلا بيكم. مع تزايد التضخم ومع تزايد الانترست ريت اللي كل يوم بنسمع عنه، بقى في تخوف من بكرة كتير. يعني ناس بقت قلقانة بكرة هيكون في إيه، وطيب أنا إيه اللي هيحصل لي في المورجج بتاعي، وأنا عندي variable rate، وأنا شايف إن كل يوم البنك اوف كندا بيزود الانترست ريت. طب هيحصل ايه بكره؟ طب هيحصل ايه الشهر الجاي؟ طب هيحصل ايه السنه الجايه؟ طب انا ايه الانفستمنت بتاعي هيتاثر ازاي؟ كل الاسئله دي بتزود المخاوف عند ناس كتيره مننا، بالذات اللي بيتابعوا احداث الريل استيت في كندا في الوقت الحالي. التخوف ده والمخاوف دي لما بتزيد ما بيبقاش الواحد مرتاح ومطمن لبكره. نص المشكلة مش في المشكلة نفسها، في إن أنت مش عارف، وإن أنت مستني بكرة يحصل إيه وأنت مش شايف بكرة هيوديك لفين. فلما قعدت أنا وفريق العمل نفكر إزاي نطمن الناس وإزاي نلاقي حلول، لقينا إن الحل الأكتر والأمثل هو إن إحنا نعرف إيه هي المشكلة، ونعرف إزاي تداعيات المشكلة بتاعة التغييرات اللي بتحصل في الانترست ريت دي. وده هيدينا نص الطريق، يعني نبقى مطمنين وفاهمين. حتة ان انت تبقى فاهم بتديك ثقة اكتر، بتديك قدرة اكبر على ان انت تزيل المخاوف اللي جواك. والنص التاني ده بتاعك انت، سواء كان عندك علاقة ايمانية انه بكرة هيبقى احسن، او ان انت عندك سلام داخلي، دي حاجة بتاعتك انت. عشان ده يبقى موجود النهاردة كان لازم نتكلم عن حاجة جديدة بتواجه كتير من الناس مننا، عن اللي هم عاملين الفاريبل ريت وواخدين مورجج من البنك بتاعهم او الليندر بتاعهم. وهي حته التريجر ريت. وعشان نقدر نعرف ونستوعب الموضوع ده بديتيلز كتيره قوي، كان لازم يكون معايا ضيفه مميزه عندها خبره حلوه في المجال ده. معايا النهارده مارينا سمير. مارينا، اهلا بيكي في اليوم السادس،
هاي
مش اول
أهلا.
مره تشرفينا.
يس مظبوط.
اهلا بيكي.
Thank you.
مارينا شي از مورجج ادفايزر، وتقدر النهارده تدينا فكره اكتر عن القلق والمخاوف. بس قبل ما نخش في الديتيلز، وعايزين نعرف مين مارينا سمير، نتعرف بيك الاول.
Hi, my name is Marina, and I work as a mortgage advisor with Dominion Lending. I work under iConnect Mortgages, which is just a part of it. I'm so happy to be here today. I know trigger rate is a tough, scary topic, but I'm here to simplify things. And I hope when we're done, everybody will know the solutions, what is trigger rate, what is trigger point, and I'll be able to simplify it for everyone.
توافقيني ان half of the problem انه يكون الواحد مش عارف ومش فاهم.
True, true.
آه بنفتح كلنا البوسته
Mhm.
وبنشوف جوابات ونقول يا دي ايه ده؟ ده سي ار ايه ده؟ بنك بتاعي ده
مفاجأة.
ايه ده؟ دايما المشكله بتبتدي من صندوق البوسطه، من كندا
مظبوط.
بوست. نروح نفتح نلاقي كميه الجوابات بتاعت اليومين او الثلاثه او الاسبوع، ونبتدي نفرشها كده ونشوف ايه المفاجآت اللي بتحصل.
مظبوط.
اغلب الناس ابتدت تجي لهم الالارم او
Mhm.
الانونسمنت من الليندر بتاعهم
Mhm.
تريجر ريت.
Okay.
احنا مش فاهمين ايه التريجر ريت.
Oh.
قبل ايه بقى التريجر ريت؟
So first things first, let me talk الأول about the interest rate itself. So if you are in a mortgage that has a fixed rate, you should not worry about this. Nothing will change for you. Nothing, you will have no change in your payments or in your rate until your renewal. So now we're talking about the people who have a variable interest rate and they have fixed payments specifically. I have created a simple table to basically simplify things. I have just made the numbers. This is just an example. We're gonna go through it, and that would explain first what is trigger rate and what is trigger point, and will give us an idea about what's the difference between them. Also, it would simplify things more by seeing the examples I have.
انا عايز اعرف بس السؤال بتاعي ببساطه، امتى يجي لنا الجواب يقول لك you are in the trigger point وعندك التشالنج؟ فخلينا ناخد خطوه خطوه.
Exactly.
مم.
So if you look at that table, it only tackles people who have variable interest rate and they have fixed payments. No matter what happened, their payments are the same. So here, if we look at the columns, we're going to talk about interest rate, the principal owing, which is like your mortgage, you principally that you originally borrowed from the bank, and then the mortgage payment, what goes towards the interest, principal, and the results. In the very first scenario is someone who already borrowed 500,000. Right now, they are hit by an interest increase when their mortgage is 450,000. Their mortgage payment is $2,000. $1,500 goes towards their interest payments, and $500 only goes towards their principal. In the next scenario, there's another interest increase. Now, if you see their current principal owing is 470,000. It increased from the last scenario because their mortgage payment is still the same. However, 1,700 is going towards the interest and $300 is only going towards the principal. So basically, just because you have a fixed payment mortgage, your payment does not change every time there's a rate increase, but your payment towards the interest, the portion going towards the interest, increase. Every time the interest rates will go up, this portion will go up as well. And it would decrease the portion that is going towards your principal. So you start accumulating principal amount on your mortgage, and then you start to have more debt than what you originally start up with. In the next scenario, we see that there is another interest rate increase. Your mortgage is now 490,000, where your mortgage payment is still the same, and there is 2,500 going towards the interest and 0 going towards the principal. Now you don't even have that 2,500, and that is what exactly trigger rate is. Trigger rate is basically when your mortgage payment is no longer enough to cover your interest payment and nothing is going to your principal. 0. Now, another increase or down the road, when you go on the same line, you'll find yourself up having a mortgage amount of 550 and your mortgage payment is still the same, interest payment still the same, and nothing is going to your principal. If you see here, your mortgage now is 550,000, where you originally borrowed 500,000. Now you are way above your originally amount that you have already came the bank to begin with to borrow. And this is what's called trigger point. Trigger point is when you start to accumulate payments, like a lot of payments, to the point where your balance exceeds the original balance that you already borrowed to begin with from the bank. And this is the trigger point. Now we're going to talk about the trigger rate and the trigger point in more details, and we're going to simplify it more. So if we go down, the trigger rate is basically when your regular payment is no longer enough to pay all of the interest that you have basically accumulated since your last payment. In other words, your entire mortgage payment is going towards interest only and nothing is going to your principal. Your regular payment is no longer enough to cover the cost of borrowing, which is the interest, and any amount that you still owe is basically added on a balance for you to pay down the road. So basically, you borrow money from the bank, your payment does not go towards paying that amount down. It's divided into a portion that goes towards your interest payment and to your principal payment. Every time your interest rate goes up and you are on a variable term and your payments are fixed, basically what happened is nothing goes towards your principal. It eats up from your principal payment, and then your interest payment starts to go up and up and up for you to accumulate more debt, and that debt basically is added on your balance for you to pay down the road. Now there is few options to find out how to calculate the trigger rate for yourself. The very first basic one is to go on your online banking. You'll see your mortgage details. Under the mortgage details, you should see how much is going towards the principal and how much is going to the interest rate. Another way to calculate the trigger rate is to basically use the simple equation by multiplying your payment amount by the how many times you pay per year, and then you would divide this by the balance owing. So for this example, I have a client who's owing currently $800,000. He pays $3,000, and then he pays it a month, so 12. Now it came up to a 4.5%. So that client would have to hit 4.5% increase in the interest rate for him to say, I hit a trigger rate. My payment now is not enough to cover the interest hike. My payment is not going through any of my principal.
طب انا هنا بقى على اذنك هوقفك ونقول للساده المشاهدين، انا امتى احس ان انا دلوقتي دخلت انت الكالكوليشن الاكزامبل اللي انت حطيتيه هو الفاكتور بتاعه 4.5.
Correct.
لو انا النهارده الانترست ريت عمال يهايك كان مثلا 4.3 بقى 4. لسه احنا اكتوبر 26 might receive another 0.75 another 0.5 ربنا يستر يعني ربنا يصل ايه. بس لو حصل الرقم ده هيبقى الانترست ريت بتاعي هيبقى بدل ما 4.3 let's say بقى 4.8.
Okay.
هل انا كده خلاص دخلت في الزون بتاع التريجر ريت؟
If you go up to 4.8, yes, you hit the trigger rate, but you should not worry.
Yeah, I exceeded the 4.5.
Yes, كده now you hit the trigger rate that you know that your payment is not paying anything. It's not paying your mortgage down.
Yeah.
It's only going towards interest.
الانترست فما فيش حاجه بتروح ناحيه البرنسبل.
Exactly.
لانه الانترست ريت المورجج بتاعي بيتقسم percent منه بيروح للبرنسبل، percent تاني بيروح للانترست.
Correct.
كده بقى 100% من اللي انا بدفعه مانثلي انترست.
Exactly.
انا عديت ال 4.5 في الاكزامبل اللي انت حاطه. لو انا مستلف 800,000 دافع لحد دلوقتي 3000 صح كده انت حاطه في الاكزامبل؟
مظبوط. يس.
يبقى انا الكالكوليشن المعادله بتاعتك 4.5 عديت ال 4.5
you hit the trigger rate.
انا في الحديد يا معلم. تمام. ليش انا بحكي بالطريقه بتاعتنا؟ انا شبراوي فاحب الطريقه البسيطه. يبقى احنا كده انت قلت لي ما تقلقش. ما قلقش ازاي؟ ده انا في البرنسبل ما فيش.
Not until you hit the trigger point, which is what we're going to talk about next.
Okay.
The trigger rate is just the introduction about that. Hey, your payment is not paying your mortgage down. It's just feeding the cost of borrowing, which is the interest rate. If we see now
على السكرين
in the presentation, yes.
تمام.
If we go down to the trigger point.
ده how to calculate ال trigger rate ولا؟
No, we're going to talk about the trigger point now.
Okay.
The trigger point is basically when your outstanding principal amount, which is your regular mortgage payments, are not even enough to cover the interest payment, and your borrowing on top of your original balance exceeds the original principal amount. So simply, لو أنا originally I borrowed 500,000 and then the trigger rate happened to me. So my payments are still fixed, and my payments are basically can't even pay the interest rate. So كل اللي هيحصل أنا I will start to accumulate interest payments every single time I pay my mortgage.
سواء كان باي ويكلي او مانثلي. انا دلوقتي كمان مش مكفر الانترست بتاع المورجج بتاعي.
Exactly. لما تكون الانترست بتاعلى والpayment is still fixed and the payment is not even enough to cover the interest, now you started to accumulate payments that you're supposed to pay but you can't pay because your payment is fixed. But how long can you accumulate? If you accumulate more than the original balance that you came in the beginning to borrow from the bank, like the 500,000, now you are at trigger point. Basically now we're borrowing more from the bank to pay for the interest rate.
لا دي انا مش فاهمها، وضحي لي.
Yes, I will.
يعني انا دلوقتي عرفت ان انا عديت ال 4.5% بتاعتي لان انا 4.8.
ماشي.
لكن ستيل الكفرنج بتاعي بيغطي الانترست. بعد كده دخلت في مرحله لا
هو ما بيغطيهاش. في التريجر ريت انت مش بتغطي الانترست.
بس يعني بيحصل اكيوميليشن
اكزاكتلي للانترست.
بس في وقت معين مش هيقدر حتى البنك يستحمل الاكيوميليشن ده.
الوقت ده بقى لما الاكيوميليشن يخلي المورجج بتاعك يعلى لاكتر مكان المورجج ابتديت بيه ازاي. يعني لو انت ابتديت ب 500,000 you borrowed 500,000 و you started to accumulate to accumulate over and over and over to a point that you owe the bank 600,000. Now you hit something called the trigger point, that you have borrowed more money to pay for the cost of borrowing, and you did not pay anything to pay your debt down. You're in more debt.
يعني انا بقيت مديون اكتر ما انا كنت مبتدي
Yes.
مع البنك. انا
Yes.
واخد منه 500، انا دلوقتي عليا ديون 600.
Exactly. So the
المفروض ان انا كل شويه الرقم بتاعي لما افتح الاكونت بتاعي الاقي ال 500 بقت 400 بقت 300 مع الوقت يعني.
it goes up بقى.
دلوقتي بقت جوز اب عكس.
Exactly.
فكده بقى تريجر بوينت.
This is a trigger point. Exactly. So when you hit the trigger point, your lender will contact you to basically explain few options that could help you to pay your mortgage down.
يعني انا كده عديت البراميل بالطريقه الاسكندراني في الشنكلانكحات. واضح انا بشرح لكم يعني احنا كده عدينا البراميل، فكده البنك هيجي علينا
The bank will offer you few options. We're going to discuss 4 of them
ايه بقى هي
to help you to help you to pay your mortgage down. The first option we have here is to increase your monthly payment. As simple and easy that sounds, it's not really simple and easy. Basically, if you want to increase your mortgage payment, your monthly payment, you have to make sure that this new payment will cover the interest rate and a part of the principal amount for you to pay down your mortgage. And you would have to resize this to work with the amortization schedule. And that does not work for everyone because it could be a big payment, it could be a big jump. The next option is to basically make a lump sum payment. You would if you have cash that you're not using, you can basically use it to pay down your mortgage, and that would help you to go back under the trigger point and not to be paying more for the interest rate.
طيب خليني اوقفك هنا. كان زمان الناس بتقول لو انا بعمل انفستمنت وبحاول انا بدفع مورجج قليل، فانا معايا كاش، فانا الكاش ده ممكن احطه في بيت تاني او احطه في انفستمنت تاني. دلوقتي النصيحه من بانكر زيك او من مورجج ادفايزر، اخد الفلوس دي واسدد بيها المورجج بتاعي لان انا بدفع انترست ريت اعلى، ولا still I used my cash in more investments في الهيلث كير؟
So this is not gonna be the only option for everyone. It could be the only option for someone, and it could be an option to think about for someone else. Like if you are at a trigger point and you can't raise your payments and you can't do any of the other 3 options and you can only pay a lump sum, the bank will ask you to start paying your mortgage down. This could be your only option. But if this is an option that you can think about, then no, because it's better to always invest your money than paying down your mortgage. So we're going to talk about other options too that it could work, and it could be common for people to use down the road if anyone would hit the trigger point.
Okay.
Eventually. So back to the presentation, the lump sum payment basically helps the client to go back under the trigger point. Now, there is another option is to basically convert from variable rate to a fixed rate mortgage. Most lenders would allow you to go convert from variable to fixed anytime. Fixed rate is always higher than the variable rate. But it would give you a peace of mind that you're going to stay with the same rate for up to 5 years. By making that decision, your mortgage payment will go up. It will increase. It won't be the same. However, you're gonna have a peace in mind that you will not have any surprises until the rest of your term.
طيب خليني برضو اقطعك تاني هنا، وهخلي المخرج بس يحط لنا الدسكشن هنا على الشاشة. الفيكست بيتغير من النمبر اوف ييرز اللي انا بعمل لوك ليه. يعني لو فيكست فور 1 year غير فيكست فور 5 years. لو انا النهارده عشان ما يتعرضش لل trigger rate عايز اسويتش من variable ل fixed, which one you recommend? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? What do you think?
I recommend from 2 to 3 years.
ليه؟
Given the fact that inflation is driven by oil and housing prices, and everyone have noticed that the oil and housing prices start to go down a bit, that makes us all feel that it would reach the peak soon and it will gradually go down. Raises prices up, and the Bank of Canada, to control this and to put everything under control, starts to raise interest rates as well. So the way I see it, once inflation starts to cool down a bit, the interest rates will cool down a bit as well. I see this happening in a short term, which is 2 to 3 years. So if you lock yourself into a 2 to 3 year term, that help you basically to have peace and no surprise for 2-3 years, same payment, and you would know that by having the same payment you're paying down your mortgage as well, and you're still not gonna be missing out on the new interest rates in 3 years, which could be very low at that time, and you would not have to break your term or anything like that. So if you can get yourself into a fixed 2 to 3 year term, that would be ideal at this time.
تمام. بما ان احنا فتحنا الاسئله شويه، الفاريبل ريتس ايه هي انواعها؟ هل انا دلوقتي بتقولي variable rate but fixed payment، هو في variable rate ما يكونش في fixed payment؟
في variable adjusted payments.
Okay.
Those people are not affected because basically once the interest rates go up, their payment starts to go up as well. So they see the increase on the spot. But if you have a variable and you have fixed payments every month, you will be hit by the trigger rate and the trigger point.
يعني اللي عنده variable بس عنده adjustable monthly او باي monthly او باي weekly payment ما يتأثرش بالtrigger rate.
Because their payments are
هو
just
already
increasing on the
adjusted.
spot. Exactly.
اوكي
Yeah.
اوكي. لا ده معلومات جديدة علينا كلها. بشجعكم تكلمونا على تليفون 289-274-8011 لان احنا قربنا نخلص البرزنتيشن بتاعتك I guess. فلو في اي اسئله يا ريت تبقى تجاوبونا على الشاشه. انا شايف ان انت حطيتي بعض الاوبشنز. الاولاني نقولهم تاني كده.
اول واحد to basically increase your payments.
من بدري انا احترم نفسي واروح مزود او اجيب معايا كاش واروح حاطه.
That's a lump sum payment.
اللامب سم
Exactly.
payment.
Yes.
دول الاوبشن التاني.
Yeah.
والتالت اسويتش من variable
to fixed.
لفيكست، وانت قلتي لي احسن 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 year term. Exactly. So you don't miss out on any change.
تمام.
The last option that I have here in my presentation.
جالنا تليفون. طيب ناخد اتصال ونقول الو. الو اهلا بيك.
الو مجدي. هاي مجدي.
هاي
this is Mina.
هاي مينا، how are you؟ اهلا بيك. يا واحنا سامعينك كويس ومارينا معاك. هيت هير يا معلم، اسالها زي ما انت عايز.
Hi Mina, how are you?
Hi Marina, thank you so much for this valuable information. Actually, I have lots of questions.
Okay.
I have more than 20 questions, but
معاك الحلقة بتاعتك.
I'm not sure, it makes sense for the bank, to have that trigger rate. However, it was my first time to know about it today when you spoke about it. I haven't seen that in the mortgage application that I have applied for. I haven't seen that anywhere else. It was my first time today. And the bank already sent me lots of messages in my mailbox. They called me a few times, warned me about that. I don't know what I'm going to do because I cannot afford paying more than what I'm already paying. That's number one. So I don't have the option. I don't have any bulk or any lump sum that I can deposit into that. So that's already gone as well. So I thought about refinance. Okay. Yes. If I refinance now, the equity itself would go down because all prices already down. So that option is already scary as well, because if everything went down, then my total owing to the bank will even increase above the trigger rate itself. Like, I start to think about what is the ceiling? Like, how come interest rate is in continuous increase? Okay, there is no any kind of ceiling for it, and whenever it increases, the bank also keep increasing the prime rate, trigger rate. Everything will be cascading up, and it doesn't end. So even if I have that lump sum, let's say 10,000, I put them down. After 5 months, I have to put another 10,000 because it keep increasing. if I moved fixed rate, my monthly mortgage will be doubled, basically. Like it will be doubled, and I don't think families in Canada or people who have mortgage here in Canada are prepared for that. So my question is, do we have any kind of historical data that tell us how this can reshape the mortgage packages that we have now in order to find a solution which can be applicable and more realistic? Because all the solutions that we are looking at today, I would be honest with you, they're not realistic. Even the market itself, job market, is not secured. So even if I leaned in my employer and I tried to increase my salary from here to there, everything will cascade up because tax following on on anything getting in addition to what I'm getting now. So I don't know.
هو سؤال انا استوعبت السؤال بتاعك يا مينا. انا بس عايز اقوله بالعربي بس عشان خاطر في ناس برضو بتتابع معانا بالعربي. هو مينا سؤاله يعني جلومي شويه، بيقول لك يعني الحياه صعبه والحياه مره. فانا النهارده بيجي لي جواب من البنك دلوقتي الدنيا بقت صعبه، انا هتاثر ازاي لو انا النهارده معايا شويه كاش اي كفر، بس انا مش شايف انه احنا داخلين على نفق مظلم. يعني هو شايف الدنيا صعبه، بيقول لك 26 اكتوبر احنا مثلا عارفين في زياده، لحد امتى احنا مش عارفين. الانترست ريت اللي عمال يزيد، احنا دلوقتي دخلنا في رينج 4.3 4.7. يمكن انا مش مع مينا في حته ان الانترست الفاريبل ريت الفيكست بقى دبل. ده انا بحس ساعات ان الناس اللي خدت قرار على فاريبل 4.3 من 3-4 شهور كان احسن لهم ياخدوه 5.5، لان دلوقتي بقى الانترست ريت ممكن يعدي ال 5.5 الفاريبل. فالسؤال هنا، وطبعا هو هي ريفيرد تو انه في ناس كتير قوي ممكن to be late يعني off بالشغل بتاعها، وده هيزود المشكلة أكتر على الناس كتير. البنك هيعمل إيه؟ يعني إيه الوضع دلوقتي؟
بص مينا, I don't want you to worry. We're all in the same boat. That's first things first. Now you were mentioning about the variable rate, that your variable, you don't want to go to refinance because you're worried about your equity. I understand that few lenders would ask you to, if you're going to refinance, and that was actually my next solution, is to borrow, pull equity out. For variable, you would have to pull $60,000, and for fixed, I think you will have to borrow $10,000. But you can avoid this by going to a different lender. That's number one. Number two, when you refinance, you're going to basically stretch your amortization. For example, if your mortgage was $500,000, now, after 5 years, you were able to pay down $50,000 and you hit your trigger point and you're now at $450,000. If you pay $450,000 on 25 years, it's going to be higher payment. But if you stretch your amortization and pay the $450,000 on 30 years, now you lowered your payment by just a trick. By just doing refinance, and you have the same equity, you have the same amount, you don't even have to borrow on top of borrowing. Now, this is like a common solution for everyone to do. You don't even need to wait for renewal to refinance. You can refinance anytime, and you can avoid touching your equity by just going to a different lender. And don't hesitate to talk to your bank about the solution for yourself. You have to talk to the bank about the options, the way you want to pay your mortgage. And they would have to provide you with options. If you don't feel comfortable, you can always go to a different lender and see what's their options as well.
Thank you, Mina. وبشكرك جدا على المداخلة.
Thank you, Marina.
You're welcome.
Quick question on that. If I'm going to a different lender, that will add up also a penalty on top of what I'm supposed to settle down, right? Or that will be covered by the other lender?
So basically, when you have a penalty, if you break your term, that would be added on your mortgage. But think about it. It would be added on your mortgage, but you still saved the surprise in the interest rate, the equity that your lender is forcing you to take out a lot of things. So there is a cost for it, but at this point you're trying to choose أحسن الوحشين.
وبرضه مينا correct me if I'm wrong I guess معلوماتي مش كاملة بس يمكن الفاريبل لو انت فاريبل ريت وبتحاول تاني الفاريبل دايما ما بيبقاش عليه بينالتي البينالتي بتبقى على الفيكست ريت
Exactly.
ده to my guessing يعني بس فانت عندك التشانس ان انت تجرب ليندر 1 و 2 و 3 لان انت ما عندكش بينالتي بالمعنى الكبير يمكن البينالتي يمكن يكون في عقدك في الفاريبل برضه بينالتي بس مش هتبقى بحجم البينالتي اللي بتبقى موجوده في الفيكست فدايما الفاريبل هو بيديك منطلق من الحريه في كل
Yes.
حاجه وبيعمل وبياخدها تاني برضه
Surprise.
يعني هو فاريبل فكل حاجه فيها
Thank you so much,
فيها
Mary.
نوع.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're
Thank you so
مينا
much for your
بشكرك على
experience.
المداخله دي وبشجع بقيه الساده المشاهدين يتابعونا مع مارينا سمير مورجج ادفايزر وبتوضح لنا التريجر ريت والتريجر بوينت وهاو تو calculate it and what exactly the impact of the trigger rate على الفاريبل اللي انت بتدفعه في المورجج بتاعك monthly or bi-weekly.
Yes.
I think and then you have a conclusion هنا.
Yes, and I also wanna have also to say something. Inflation, when inflation goes up, it raises the prices up, and interest rates also go up, and that is very stressful to a lot of families and to a lot of clients. That could hurt their financial situation, their financial health. Don't be shy or hesitate to contact your lender. It's their job to basically help you find an option, a comfortable way for you to pay your mortgage down the way you want. So find out more options, shop around, look for things. You have to understand things. This is something new for everyone, and we're all in the same boat. Everybody is suffering and complaining, and you don't have to stress out at all. This is not forever. This is not gonna stay until forever. It's gonna go down. It takes time because inflation goes down gradually, and it would take maybe few years, but it will go. This is just temporary.
Thank you. طيب الكونكلوجن بقى عشان
So my conclusion is basically you have to pay your mortgage down the way you want. Always discuss the options. If you can make a big lump sum, if you can't do raise your payments, if you can't convert now to a fixed rate, maybe you would want to consider refinancing. It's a very common option for everyone. It's basically you would start to have a bigger amortization, and automatically with like ما فيهاش فن, automatically you would have lower payments and you don't even have to borrow more. I know maybe some lenders are forcing their customers to do that, but you can basically switch to a different lender and you will have more options and variety and space to do what you really want to do and how you want to pay your mortgage down.
احنا مركزين قوي في الفترة اللي جاية في اليوم السادس على موضوع المورجج والتفاصيل بتاعته. في أسئلة كتيرة قوي ابتدت تدور في دماغ ناس كتيرة قوي دلوقتي. مثلا انت انفستر ومفروض تقفل بيتك في مارش 2023. ايه اللي هيحصل؟ هل البنك هيديني زي ما وعدني ولا لا؟ هل انا هقدر كان افورد البنك هيكمل لي 80%؟ انا دفعت خلاص اوريدي خلصت. انت عارفه الريكونستراكشن بدفع 5 دفعت 20% او لسه فاضل لي 5% وخلاص قبل الاوكيبنسي. انا الاوكيبنسي بتاعي مثلا مارش 2023. هل البنك هيوافق بعده وانهي ريت انا هدفع المورجج بتاعي؟ لان ده هيغير حاجات كتيره. وهل ثمن البيت اللي هو انا شاريه مثلا 1.2 مليون البنك فعلا هيتمنه في مارش اللي جاي ب 1.2 مليون ولا هيقول لي لا سوري يا معلم انا البنك دلوقتي انا 8 مليون عندي دلوقتي اتصرف انت في ال 200,000 في الابريزل. في الابريزل هل البنك كوميتد؟ كل الحاجات دي هنجاوبها في حلقات جايه كتير. تابعونا وخليكم دايما متابعين الاحداث بتاعتنا في اليوم السادس لان احنا we are covering all of these questions. هل انا دلوقتي انفست اكتر في الريل استيت ولا اخلي الكاش اللي معايا اسدد بيه المورجج. اسئله كتير قوي بتواجه الناس وما فيش اجابه صح وغلط زي ما انت قلتي. الاجابات بتختلف من شخص لشخص، لكن على الاقل احنا بناخد الخطوط العامه والاساسيه في مواضيع المورجج. ثانك يو مارينا.
You're welcome.
بجد يعني it was very informative ومعلومات قيمه جدا. وانا بالنسبه لي انا personally استفدت موضوع تريجر ريت ده،
Thank
لانه
you.
كان حرق دم قوي. فاهموا ايه التريجر ريت وانا في الفيلد يعني حاجه يعني انت توافقيني ان احنا ما كناش نسمع عن التريجر ريت
No,
ده
no,
قبل كده يعني.
no, not at all.
مش معناها ان انت في الفيلد ومش عارف
Yes.
تريجر ريت ده معناها ان انت مش مركز. لا، ده حاجات جديده بنتعلمها،
Mhm.
واحنا كل يوم بنتعلم وكل يوم نفضل نتعلم. وبنشكرك تاني يا مارينا على
Thank you so
وجودك
much.
معانا
Thank
في
you
اليوم
for
السادس.
having me. Thank
ثانك
you.
يو. واعزائي مشاهدي اليوم السادس، يا رب نكون حطينا اضافه جديده لمعلوماتك او لمعلوماتك عن موضوع التغييرات اللي بتحصل في المورجج نتيجه التشينجز اللي بتحصل في الانترست او الهايكنج اللي بيحصل في الانترست ريت. يجعل كلامنا خفيف عليهم. اكتوبر 26 كلنا فينجر كروست ومستنيين نشوف بنك اوف كندا هيعمل فينا ايه تاني اكتر ما هو عمل فينا. تصبحوا على خير.